Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Hobbyhammer podcast. That is Lloyd.
And that is Ben.
And today's episode, we're going to be talking a bit about the Spearhead boxes. Now, I think at the moment of recording, there are 21 boxes. So we're going to go through and just give our thoughts on the 21 boxes that are available at this moment. Now, we're not going to go super in depth with it, mainly because that's not what we do here. We may go into more depth in another video. And if you want to see that, please let us know. Lloyd, what other things do they need to do at the start of this episode?
We would love it if you could like the video, certainly. And if you watch some of our other videos, please like those as well, because that helps increase our reach and helps YouTube recommend it to other followers. And we have our first target of reaching 500 subscribers on the channel. So we are absolutely overwhelmed by everyone's support so far. So we figured, why not see if we can drive that towards something a little bit more kind of arbitrary. And 500 subscribers is the figure we decided on. We'll grow that to 1,000 after we get to 500. But it'd be so good if you could subscribe to the video. If you enjoy our content, there's absolutely no obligation to. I did mention the word arbitrary there, Ben, and that I think we may have to redefine the word arbitrary for when it comes to these Spearhead packs today, because it's going to be completely arbitrary in terms of whether we think they're good or they're bad. And it's probably going to come down to how cool we think the models are. So yes, I'm looking forward to that. So let's dive into the episode and start where we always start, which is the rumor engine.
Go.
Now, viewer, listener, you will be pleased to hear there is discontent amongst the hosts. We have different ideas of what this could be. So Ben, what do you think this week's rumor engine could be?
So I immediately saw this as a Votan. I just think I've painted a few of them. It looks like one of their little communications backpack type things. Just the geometric kind of design of it. Well, not geometric, but like just the design of it looks to me very Votan. Also, those little communication wires or whatever, the
Aerials.
Aerials, that's the one. Thank you very much. That's why you're here. So they're quite stubby and short from this perspective.
I see.
Yeah, so
Stubby and short aerials equals stubby and short chaps, chapesses.
What do you think?
Well, I think it might be part of a new Space Marine vehicle, because I think that looks like it might be the side pod of something. It could be a new bike. It could be a new transport, perhaps a variant. I don't know. I just feel it looks a little bit Space Marine-y for my liking. And we do have rumors, and rumors and rumors. It is rumored that there are more Space Marines very much on the horizon, plummeting, making planet fall in pods of some variety. So I do think that it could be Space Marine. I do take your point about the short and stubby aerials, because as I look around, Space Marines tend to have kind of bigger ones, apart from the Phobos Marines, who've got the shorter aerials on their backpacks.
Very true.
So I'm wondering if it could be something to do with that. And also, it's completely impractical to have long plastic aerials on your wargaming miniatures. Fair enough for display models, but for wargaming miniatures, no.
Yeah, it's a bit of, I mean, I have the amount of models that I've broken just by leaning over to move them is rather frustrating. But
Yes.
can we just take a moment here, Lloyd? And I think we need to give you your dues, because you nailed the last two. You nailed it.
Yes.
Well, we'll have to come back and get this clip and see if you're right.
Yes, well, yeah, so rather be vindication. Barely used to be wrong, so it would be nice to be right once.
Imperial Knight.
Yeah, Chaos Knight, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Chaos Knight, you were right with both those, so
Yeah.
well done. Well done. So in that, with that record that you've got, I wouldn't be surprised if you were right on this one as well.
Well, I have no idea. Remember, there are no prizes. It is just for fun. But it is nice to be right
good.
sometimes.
It does feel good though, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's the rumor engine. As Lloyd said, let me know what you guys think below. If you think that we're right, if you think we're wrong, let us know. Again, all the comments, anything. If you're listening to this right now and you're thinking, what should I comment? Please do. It really does help. And if you're supporting the channel, it just shows us even more. So yeah, again, massive shout out.
It makes us feel loved, which we like that. So please feel free. Commenting and subscribing and liking is all free.
It is. So should we move on to the pre-orders from this week?
Pre-orders. There are lots of pre-orders.
Yeah, so there was that week we didn't have any. And then they've gone, well, we heard that Lloyd and Ben didn't have much to talk about. I mean, that's what I assume anyway. And they went, let's just give them everything. So
Yes.
Kick it off. What's the first thing we are looking
Well,
at?
first off, we have got Thousand Suns, and we have the last of the four super special Chaos Codexes,
Mhm.
which is the bits with all the bits and pieces, the special box, presentation box, the golden leaf cards, all that stuff. So it's the last limited edition codex. So if you've managed to collect all three and you want the fourth, this is the weekend to get it. So good luck to you for that. And then on the back of that, we've obviously got the normal codex and the data cards, but we've also got two new Thousand Sun boxes. We've got the Warp Flame Thrallband Battle Force, which is a lot harder to say.
I was going to say,
Um, I was going to say, I started reading it. It was like, oh my God, what are these words?
I saw that and was like, I'm so glad Lloyd is doing this part.
Yeah. So this has got it's actually quite a cool looking box actually. So you've got five Terminators, you've got three Sorcerers, you've got 10 Rubric Marines, but you've also got four of the new, I think it's going to be pronounced Sekitar robots,
Mhm.
um, which are quite interesting looking bits of kit because they seem to be quite tall.
Yeah.
But they've got interesting heads. But when you look at some of the close-up photography, one of them has got, I think it's like an eagle head, and one of them's got a scarab beetle head. So they're obviously tied into the kind of the themes going on with the Thousand Suns. So it'd be really interesting to see them. Now, they're exclusive to that battle box, which is a little bit like the Slaughterbound and the Lord of Boxes and the Death Guard and the World Eaters sets that just came out.
Yep.
And you also then got the Combat Patrol Thousand Suns, um, which has got a Demon Prince, has 10 Rubric Marines, and it's also got some I think they're screamers. Are they? No, they're not screamers. They are Sangors. I think it might be an exalted Sangor and then three other Sangors on discs.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure what they're called, but so that's the new Combat Patrol for Thousand Suns. So if you are a devotee of Magnus the Red, then this is the week for you.
It would be. I have killed so many of those Angors in Space Marine 2, by the way.
So have I.
Yeah.
So have I.
Absolutely amazing. So yeah, Thousand Suns looking quite good. Again, with that Egyptian theme, they're really, really leaning heavily into that, which again I think looks awesome. Those Sekitar robots. I'm not sold on them personally. I think they look a little bit rigid, which I suppose they're robots, but yeah, I don't know. I
Not a
just
floppy robot, do you?
no, it's just they look very just almost like
Erect.
yeah, Lego Man-ish. I think if you had one leg up on a rock or tactical rock never
Well,
goes.
one of them, not, one they do have a tactical rock.
Oh, oh, he does that far. The one on the left, yeah, with the big cannon. Well, there you go.
Yeah. So
But
you've got one that's got a tactical rock, and the other one looks like he's kind of striding forward slightly.
it's again, like you said in some of the other images, that sometimes the photo doesn't quite do it justice until you physically have that model in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that might be the case with these.
Yeah, I'd say so. All right, and then we move on to Old World. Again, shout out to Alex. If you haven't checked out that episode, make sure you do. It was the last episode. Alex basically came on and gave us a very thorough breakdown of why we should be Old World players. Well,
10 reasons, in fact, why we should be
yeah.
old world players.
And Lloyd wasn't too hard. You weren't too hard to. You were already
In,
you were standing beside him.
in.
Me, it took a little bit more convincing, but yeah, I'm thinking I'm gonna have to dive into that world. So we've got the Wood Elves Realms Battalion. Very, very cool looking bunch of models here. Very diverse as well, from what I can tell. Wood Elves. What about Wood Elves? Are you I know you're a High Elf fan, and there's
Yeah, more so high elves. I think what's good about the Wood Elves Battalion is that, and somebody else can correct me, but I think the majority of those sculpts are fairly new. So by new, what I mean is they were released not long before they killed off Old World and it became Age of Sigmar. So a lot of the Wood Elf sculpts were fairly new right up to that point. So they're going to be slightly more modern than some of the other kits they've released for Old World. So that's kind of good. Like the Glade Riders, and forgive me, I'm not 100% sure what they're all called, but the Glade Guards are the ones with the banners. I think the only ones which might be older are the Archers. So that's a decent, it's going to be a decent box.
it looks cool. And yeah, you're right. Just looking at those, you can tell there's a design.
Yeah.
Looks from
So one of the other Araloth, the Lord of Talzin, for example, that is a fairly new sculpt as well. When you just compare that to Orion, who is basically the Lord of the Wood Elves, which will probably be a metal model, I imagine. Then it's yes, it's you can see the difference in terms of the sculpt quality.
you can. Is he a big model? I've not seen that, Orion. Like
I've not seen the Orion model, but I'm just looking at the base sizes. It doesn't say what size base it is, but that looks to me like it could be a 40 mil square base.
yeah, it does look quite large. in those two
Yeah. So
ones as well. Very cool, very cool. And then we got the Wood Elf Noble on Dragon. Now I believe that this is very similar to one of the first models that my cousin Adam got back like very, very long time ago, but it was the High Elf equivalent of this. It's very, very similar look to it.
yeah,
Wow, that is an old looking dragon.
that is a proper old school Warhammer dragon. That's probably. I mean, that sculpt is probably almost as old as Warhammer. It certainly looks like a classic sculpt. I mean, personally, I'm not one for the classic sculpts like that. They don't really float my boat. I prefer some of the more modern stuff. But definitely, if you like old school Warhammer, then that's for you. I imagine that's going to be, yeah, it is metal with plastic wings, so it does take some of the pain away. Excuse me, some of the pain away, but there's gonna be a lot of pinning.
Yeah, that looks yeah, I'm in your favor there. It's not cool. If you like it, awesome, fair play, but to me it's a bit yeah. Especially when you look at the Grand Cathay models like we said earlier, like that it's gonna be quite a difference between that dragon and the other ones as well.
Yes,
So we've got
very much.
metallic wood elf characters. We've got quite a few of these. Again, some of them look pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the metal characters for the Wood Elves are really cool. The ones on foot in particular, they're really nice. So things like the War Dancers and that sort of stuff, they're all fantastic. So I think, yeah, it's a really good release for the Wood Elves.
Yeah. That's a solid. Yeah, I'm just looking through now. They've got the little scrolls. Yeah, fantastic looking. So let us know whether you're a Wood Elf fan, whether you are excited for this. This looks like an extensive range release for you guys. So
I just throw in as well on the bottom that there are some High Elves also being
there is.
re-released.
Yeah.
This week we've got the Lawmaster, which is I think it's a level 4 wizard as a mage, but you've also got the Silver Helms, which is the High Elf cavalry. So it'll be interesting to see how they stack up against the brand new Illyrian Reaver sculpts that they did as part of that release as well.
Yeah. And we cannot forget, probably argue, well, I would say the most important release that they've got here, Arcane Frogs.
Arcane Frogs. Ribbit.
I I love it. Absolutely love it. So that is all the pre-orders. That is all the orders that are coming up this week. Let us know whether you are going to be getting any of these, whether you're excited about them. Just chat to us in the comments. We're always keen to see your feedback. But
Yes.
Louis, should we get into the meat of this episode?
There's a considerable meat
There
to
is.
this episode. When I agreed to this, I didn't realize there were 21
I didn't either.
spearhead
I didn't
boxes.
either. I'm not gonna lie. And then that's all the pre-orders, and I was like, wow, we may be here for a
Yes,
maybe.
but we will do our best to move swiftly through them. But hopefully, you are enjoying the episode so far.
Yeah.
So we've looked at the spearhead section on the Warhammer website. We've pulled them up. Hopefully, we're going to have them in the same order,
Yes.
and we're going to be talking about the same spearhead boxes as we carry on through this. So I said at the start that this is going to be fairly arbitrary in terms of determining which box is the best because we're not going to look at which one's the best value for money. We're not going to look at which one performs the best on the tabletop. We are literally going for rule of cool
Really.
and which one we prefer. So yeah, I'm not even sure we've got a scoring system. We're just going to talk about them and hopefully you'll enjoy it. So we play like winner stays on. So let's play winner stays on, right?
There
So
we
we'll
go.
pick two and we'll decide which one's the best. So winner stays on, and that way we'll come at the end of it, we'll have the best spearhead. So there we
Okay.
go. Folks, this is like happening as we watch it. Let us begin. So the first spearheads that we have up against each other are the Stormcast Eternals and the Daughters of Cain. So which one do we think is best, Ben?
So I think it's best to start with the one that I prefer least, and it's definitely the Daughters of Cain. It just visually look. First of all, you get a lot of models. That's always cool. But I think it just doesn't really look like it knows what it's doing. I think it might be quite confusing for people who are just starting off. Is like, are these
Hmm.
elves? Are these snakes? Are these elves riding horses?
I think they're blue sun, aren't they?
They are. They're just again. They're just a very. It just. I don't know. There's just not any model in particular here that I'm like, I really want that box because you get that model. And that's part of one of the things that I look at in boxes. I'm generally you get like there's the troops and there's the kind of standards you need to form an army, but then there's always one model, hopefully, that you're like, that's the one. I like that one. So for me, this one's just it just misses the mark.
Yeah.
Fly buzzing around my mouth. There we go. It does misses the mark. What do you think?
I would tend to agree with you. I'd probably say as well a little bit that I don't necessarily like spearheads or combat trolls that have got lots of models in them. And the reason that it might be controversial, but the reason I say that is because if there's lots of models in it, it's going to take you a while to kind of build and paint them and get going. If you're anything like me, which is like, oh, new shiny thing, then it's not going to take long until you've kind of moved on to the next thing and they kind of end up getting abandoned. I mean, that's completely my issue. It may be your issue as well, as a fellow hobbyist. If your pile of opportunity seems to be growing and growing. So yeah, I kind of agree with you, and also I think the Stormcast one is awesome. Uh, like you get the Stormcast one is great. Like you get Indrasta, which is a fantastic model.
Yep.
You get a wavy flagman. Everyone loves a flag. You get a chariot. Three of those like thunder Terminator
Spartans.
dudes, and then you got get some swordsmen. Like I'm sorry, but this one just absolutely smashes the doors of game into the ground as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. You've got, I mean, I don't know if you could, if you're watching this, you can see my eyes just darting all over the place. The door just came on. I just looked at it and was like, all right, this one, Yndrasta, straight away, unbelievably beautiful model. Again, these are newer models, which we kind of got to
Yeah.
say that. But yeah, even the standard troops look awesome. And I've seen this box in person. This is a very, very nice box. So yeah, we've got to give the W to the Stormcast.
To the Stormcast. And a top painting tip: don't stick the head in the in the banner bearer. I think it's called a vexilla. Before you paint the flag, because that just makes it a heck of a lot easier.
Oh
And
yeah.
yes, I have made that mistake in the past.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a very, very good tip. Okay, so Stormcast, they're the winners there. So are we moving on to the Blade? Are we just going to do a can
Yeah,
anyone?
winner stays on. So we've got Stormcast up against Blades of Corn. So which one of these do we think is coolest?
Oh, okay. So first of all, much, much older models.
Yes.
The Blades of Corn. These
So interestingly enough, it's a rematch of the original Age of Sigmar starter box, which was Stormcast against the Blades of Corn, and I believe that some of these models in here were also in that starter box.
yes, minus the due to the front, the Slaughter
Slaughter Priest,
Priest, and then you didn't get the Juggernauts, the big
you didn't
three
get
at
the
the back.
Juggernauts, no.
You
So
got the rest of these, yeah. You got a Korgorath, which was a pretty cool model. But yeah, I
yes,
mean,
that's
look,
cool.
if this is your aesthetic, this is pretty cool looking. I would just be concerned that these are probably going to get refreshed soon. And
Do you know something that we don't?
no, I just think that based off the fact that the Stormcast, you put these beside the new Stormcast, and I just think
Yeah.
they're a bit dated. I personally, and that's always something I tell people if they are going to get into it. If they're looking at boxes, I'm like, hey, those are models that are quite old, so you might be best holding off unless you don't care. I do. I would like to get the most updated models. Like when I see the
Mm.
the old Ard Boy models compared to the new Ard Boy Orc models,
Yeah.
night and day, absolute night and day. So for this one, for me, I gotta give it to the Stormcast. But again, very very cool box. Not as much of a decisive win compared to the Daughters of Cain, but
Mhm.
yeah, I think I've got to give.
I'd probably lean more to the decisive win for the Stormcast for my mind. But again, I'm looking at it from a very similar nature to the Daughters of King box, where yeah, you got a lot of models, there's a lot of trim and things like that, and yeah, so for me, and again, ruler cool. I just think the Stormcast box is cooler.
Yeah,
Sorry, corn fans.
no, no, I agree. I agree. I wonder if we're going to disagree. I mean, might be quite interesting. Although from track record, I don't think we will, but we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see. We'll see.
we may end up. In fact, we're being so arbitrary with this. We haven't even said what we're going to do in the event of a tie. So we'll cross that bridge if we come to it.
Yeah, let's do that. So, will this be the one that does that? The Hedonites of Slanesh. Um, what are your thoughts? What are your first thoughts?
My thoughts are, and again, I'm looking at purely from an aesthetic point of view, purely from a painting point of view. I can't really go back on what I've said in the other two boxes, and these are all they're very cool models, but they're all very busy models.
Yep. Yep.
And because of that, it's going to take a while for you to kind of get these done and on the table. And yeah, I'm not a massive fan of chaos anyway. So for me, again, the Stormcast would win. If I was gonna like, obviously um, if we look at the Headlights models, they are quite cool. They are a little bit bonkers. They are very like Slaneshi in terms of their outfits and things like that.
Yep.
Um, but for me, there's nothing in there that makes me think, do you know what? As a group, this is better than the Stormcast.
I agree. I I'm like you, I'm not a huge fan of chaos simply because of the amount of detail. They are, by their nature, a very chaotic bunch of
Mhm.
lads and ladies and whatever these things are, monsters. Again, there are some cool looking models. There's the fiend looking things. There's three of them. So you've got the elite, you've got the cavalry, which is kind of cool. But
Yeah.
yeah, to me, I look at that and go, as a hobby, a hobby project, that would be intimidating for me.
Yeah,
Very intimidating.
for me as well, even as a seasoned painter, it's quite an intimidating box in terms of the amount of detail that are on the models. And probably like if I look at those Blissball archers, for example, and the leader, which is the Shard Speaker of Slanesh, they're all fairly new models,
Yeah.
and they are very, very detailed. So I just yeah, for me, they don't really fit what I see Spearhead is, which is it's kind of a gateway thing where you can get in, get your army on the table fairly quick. Assuming you want it painted to a standard. So for me, they don't quite tick those boxes. If I walked into a store, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, I've got to get these.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen those box. I've seen it, and I've just gone cool. I think that's the best way I can summarize my relationship with chaos. It's just like from a distance, cool,
Mm.
cool. No, I'm good. Just there we are. But I'm good. I'm good. So Stormcast moves on.
Stormcast is
The
still in pole position. So we've got the Caradron next. So we may have to put a caveat on this one.
mm-hmm.
And the caveat on this one is that it is sold out online, which normally means there's potentially a replacement Spearhead box coming down the line with a different configuration. So
Yep.
perhaps when they redo or when they launch the Caradron for this edition of Age of Sigmar, there'll be a new Spearhead possibly.
Yep. Gut reaction though. You've got a massive ship, which looks amazing. I think that's definitely ticking the box of big model, cool model, one of those models that you'd be very excited to see, physically in your hands once you've got it built.
Yeah,
But caveat to that, it is a very busy model as well. I've actually got this model, and it is in terms of a painting project, it again can be very, very intimidating for someone who's looking to get into it. The overall aesthetic of the box, I think, looks cool. If you're into Caradron, this is a pretty good box, but as you said, it's probably going to get changed out. Um, Look, I actually did buy this box, I believe, or a variation of it, because I've got all these models.
yeah.
Uh, as much as I like them, still, still gotta go with Stormcast. What about you?
On a side note, what's the flight stand looking like? Because I'm looking at the picture and it just seems awfully dainty for the amount of
Precarious.
model it's got to support.
It is precarious. It is, I mean, you literally just touch the table and it just wobbles. So
Mm.
I think again, from a hobbyist perspective and even a gaming perspective, that is a difficult model. Just to even transport that, if you're thinking
Yeah,
from you're moving it from your mate's house or to a tournament or whatever, you've got to consider the fact that that thing is very precarious, very difficult to hobby to like have any other option either. Like
yeah,
unless you're very skilled and very confident with your abilities to kit bash and make up something else that replaces that stand, yeah, it's going to be difficult. Plus, I just don't like those stands. I
yeah.
just I just think they look a bit naff. Just ruins the it ruins the immersion for me, just these big clear things. And I get it, but yeah, I'm gonna have to give this to the Stormcast. What about you?
Yeah, I think so. For all of the above reasons, and the fact that you can't buy it online anymore because it is sold out. So potentially the new box will be better. So yeah, I think that's an easy win for me for the Stormcasts moving forward.
Okay.
So
So
next up,
oh
right, this is where we may have some issues.
yeah.
It's the Orc War Clans, the Iron Jaws Big Mob. Now, Ben, you've already mentioned the Iron Jaws. Tell
Mhm.
us, what do you think? Are we going to have a change at the top?
I think so, yes. I think
Mhm.
so personally. I think that the first of all, the leader of this looks like a leader. He's not so different to all the other models where you're gonna have to change your paint scheme, you're gonna have to change a lot of the paints that you maybe have in your palette if you're painting these guys. But
Yeah,
my word, I just think this is simplicity at its best. I think specifically this model here, the leader, he got a
Yeah.
giant, T-Rex, looks like a carnosaur skull on his shoulder. He looks like he means business. He's got a gigantic axe that's nearly the size of one of the Ard boys, the smaller guys beside them, and they're not small.
Yeah.
He's got presence. You also then get 5 brutes, which I think are some of the coolest looking models. Very adaptable. I've just painted up 10 of them myself, so beautiful models. You've got then the brute ragers, the top 3 there with their shirts off. Again, you can build those in 2 different ways.
Yeah.
Very, very cool models, very new as well. And then you've got the new Ard boys as well. So again, you get a lot of models, which kind of goes against it a little bit. But what I would say is this is probably one of the easier projects to tackle from a painting perspective. And none of the models are old. They look fantastic. They all are uniform to a certain degree.
Yeah.
This ticks all of the boxes for me to supplant the Stormcast box.
I think from a painting point of view, if I was look, you can do these, you can do them fairly simply. So you can use contrast paints really effectively on something like this because there's no smooth armor panels. They're all battered and beaten, and so there's lots of ways you can get these models on the table fairly quickly. So I think that's going for it, even though there's more models in there. And then you can also go the route of, well, actually, I can get them all done fairly easily with contrast paint, and then I can just highlight them up and I can add more detail to them. So I think that's also a really interesting thing. I'm not sure I share the rule of cool. I do think some of the Stormcast models are cooler. Like I think the Chariot is cooler, but actually, when I think about my organized brain and my right brain, I have got a bit of a soft spot when it comes to orcs or oryx in this case, and I think the box art scheme that they've painted them in the kind of the yellow, the black, and obviously with them with the green skins, I think does tip them over the edge a little bit above the Stormcast. So we have our first challenger to topple the Stormcast from the top. So the Oryx are now the informed side, so to speak. So they are now temporarily the best Spearhead box you can get for Age of Sigmar. So next up, we've got Slaves to Darkness, Dark Oath Raiders. What do we think of them?
No, just not my thing. Not my thing. It leans into your issue of I get, which I completely agree with. Lots of models,
Mm,
overwhelming, very tricky to paint because they are very detailed. But the other thing I would say that goes against this is it's again the Iron Jaws kind of fall into this, but once you actually build them, I know looking at the artwork, it's very easy to kind of go, oh well, which model is part of what unit. But
mm.
once you see the Iron Jaws, it's very clear. I think so anyway. This, I have no idea which unit is part of what unit. Like, obviously, you got the cavalry at the top there. You get the 5 cavalry. Look, great, cool.
Mm.
But then I have no idea which. I am assuming there's different model. Let me just have a little quick check. I go. This is kind of.
Yeah, so there's a Dark Oath Queen. There's the 5 Dark Oath Fell Raiders, who are the cavalry. You've got 10 Dark Oath Savages and 10 Dark Oath Marauders. So I've got a feeling that they are the Savages and the Marauders. It's the same kit. You just build them with different weapons, I think, to give them the different rule.
Yeah, which to me immediately I'm like, I think there's a little bit of, for me again, I'm trying to view this from a beginner slash someone who's maybe got a little bit of 40K and now try to dip into AOS. I I think that causes issues when you've got the same kit that can be built different ways, because I immediately think there's issues that come from that of which way do I build them? Am I supposed to build them like this? Am I supposed to build them like that? I've even had issues with that before.
Yeah.
And I think that might put people off. Again, this aesthetic for me, it just doesn't jimmy my jangles at all. It's just not an aesthetic I like that much. Norse kind of Viking-esque.
Mm.
Some people will love that. Cool. Again, I'll kind of thumbs up, but from a
Not for
distance.
you. Your jangles are firmly unjingled, Jimmied.
Dangle, jingle, yeah, well,
Jangle
it
jingles,
works whatever way you want. That's the best thing about it.
they are in place.
They are firmly
No,
rooted.
I quite like the Dark Oath models. I think that Dark Oath War Queen that's been subject of several Golden Demon entries as well, I think. And a lot of these are very new models. They are quite cool. But I do share your misgivings about them a little bit. They are, having painted one, done a tutorial on one as well for the channel. They are very busy models.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of getting something to kind of get started with on the tabletop, these are probably not the best spearhead to go with. But if you do like something that is a little more human, well, obviously they are human, but also a little bit wilder than something like Cities of Sigmar, then I think these are, these are okay for that sort of thing. But for me, they do not usurp the Oryx, so they must stay where they are, and the Oryx will move forward.
I will say though, just one last point about them. They do have very, very nice dynamic movement to them. I think the actual, you know, the models themselves, very, very interesting looking. Um, but yeah, I agree. Not enough to supplant the Orcs' place in number one. Now, moving on to the next one, we have Skaven.
Oh.
Now, bit of a weird image on the website because, well, oh wait, sorry, no, my mistake, my mistake. Um, I thought they'd only included one of the giant rats, but I could see them in the background. I genuinely saw that as being blended into three at the top. It's just a bit weird. They put the cannon, the warp cannon, or the zap cannon, whatever it is, at the top there, and didn't put the three big boys at the top. But anyway, I digress. This box, again, it's got the rule of cool. You got three gigantic storm fiends, which are the big rats. Very, very cool looking models. I've just purchased six of them, painted up three. I've still got to paint the other three, but we'll get onto that at another point. We've also got the giant zap cannon, which very cool, older model, but I still think it holds up to a certain degree. The only thing here aesthetically is that dude in the middle. I think it's a grey seer.
It
Old,
is a Gracia, yeah.
that is an old model.
Now, I'd say that's because there was a new Gracia model released as part of the
There
Skate
was.
box, wasn't there?
There was. So I don't know why they've put this one in here because the other one looks awesome. But yeah,
Mm.
again, this is me. I look at that and go, that's an old model. That just doesn't quite fit it. And I'm just a bit of an oddball when it comes to that. I like everything to be as updated as possible.
Neat.
But again, big fan of rats, but to me, still not quite enough to get rid of the orcs in number one. What about you? What's your thoughts?
20 clan rats. I'm out.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll tell you why I'm out.
Uh-huh.
A long time ago, I did a commission for. Do you remember the third? It wasn't third edition. It was maybe seventh edition fantasy, but it was Island of Blood. So the High Elves against the Skaven,
Got that. Yeah.
and it came with something. I think it may have been 40 clan rats. I did a commission for them.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely horrendous. So from that day, from that day forward, I've sworn off them, and I don't care. Like I said, this is going to be extremely arbitrary, and it really is going to be that arbitrary. Don't like clan rats. I'm out. Next.
Yeah, I agree. I've painted 40 of them as well. Not keen to paint any more of them. Thank you very much.
All right, so time for some Auric on Auric action then, eh?
Is it we go yep, let's go the Orc War Clan. So we've got the Cruel Boys Orc War Clan. So what do you think? What are your thoughts?
So firstly, help me out with a little bit of I don't even know what the word is, but so these are obviously Auric War clans. The other Aurics are also Auric War clans. So you've got Iron Jaws.
Yes.
You've now got these ones, which are the Cruel Boys. Are they? So they're all under the same faction umbrella at Age of Sigmar now. Is in the new edition? Is that what's happening?
Correct. Yeah, you can field both of these together in a big WA, or you can lean be towards War Clans or exclusively towards Iron Jaws. Now, I believe if you're comprising an army of both of the two sub factions, I think you have to have, as far as I'm aware from the rules at the moment, you have to have one each. So if you have two War Clans, you have to two Cruel Boy units, you have to have two Iron Jaws. I think it works like that. Cool flexibility in terms of if you're looking at it like that, but we're not. We're looking at it from just this box itself. You got some cool looking models. You got the big guy, the big leader on that horrendous looking mount. A lot of fun to paint that model, I will say.
Is it a Gnarl Beast? Is that what it's called? Auric Warlord or Gnarl Beast or something like that, I think it's called.
Yep.
I did do one for the channel when that edition of second edition Age of Sigmar came out, where they introduced the Cruel Boys. The second edition?
Yes.
Third at the moment,
It was.
So I don't mind the Cruel Boys aesthetic. I think I definitely prefer the Iron Jaws aesthetic, because that to me is more that classic
Orc.
kind of Warhammer feeling, Warhammer style.
Yeah.
So I'd say on that point, I prefer I do still prefer the Iron Jaws as opposed to the Cruel Boys. And also the other thing with the Cruel Boys as well, again, we've made these arbitrary rules up, so I've got to stick to my decisions. They're just very, very busy models as well.
They are. They
You
are.
can get into a decent level of contrast, but again, just there's a lot of detail on them.
There is. Yeah. Whilst I like them, it's just like it's just a yeah, cool. I think they look awesome. Again, if that's your style of play, you kind of want to be more sneaky orcs. You're standing back and shooting and doing quite a lot of damage. I have to say those bolt boys and then the bolt boy skewer, very cool, very cool models. But I just like big, heavy armored orcs that just want to get in your face and crump. Man,
Yeah.
going from 40k there, but yeah, I cool, but no, not quite enough to topple the Iron Jaws in my opinion.
No,
Uh,
no.
Sylvaneth next, is that how you have it?
It is how I have it, Sylvaneth. So what do you think about the tree people?
Okay, so first of all, I really like this kit. In terms of overwhelm, it's way down there. It's not an overwhelming kit in terms of the model amount, the model count. You've got a very cool centerpiece model. You got some three smaller centerpiece models. They are still big models, by the way. Those Kurnoth Hunters are beautiful, and you can build them in three different ways, I believe. You've got the bow and arrow, you've got the warglaive, and then you've got these giant swords. So plenty of variety there.
Yeah,
The only thing I would say is that well, Ollie's trying to dig a hole in the carpet.
plant
Um,
his own Sylvaneth.
yeah, no. Well, all he sees is sticks, and he's kind of eating and destroying sticks. So, yeah, I would say that from a painting perspective, these could be quite challenging. Just these, what are those called? The Revenants, I believe they're called. Uh,
Yes, you got 5 tree revenants.
Yeah, the fact that
Yeah.
the tree component to them and then the ethereal kind of ghostly, that could be quite tricky for people. And then just again, I've painted these myself, trying to get in at some of those angles with just the design of the model can be quite challenging. I've also built that branch witch, by the way.
Mhm.
That's a model to build. That little worm thing on his shoulder, I just couldn't find. And it's an old kit, and that is a very
Yeah.
old model. So yeah, it's a no, but it's kind of a reluctant no for me.
Mm.
It just doesn't beat out the Iron Jaws in my opinion.
Yeah. I think this is the kind of kind of model set that is perfect for contrast paint or any other speed paint range that you may use. Um, because you can get everything done using the contrast paint fairly nicely. Even the Revenants, I'm just looking at them thinking, well, you just chuck some lilac oxide over them,
Yeah,
and they're pretty much
that's what I did.
done in terms of the spirit side of them.
Hmm.
The other thing I think which is positive for this box is that big boy you get in the middle, which is the Tree Lord, because
Yeah,
you can build it as a Tree Lord Ancients, or you can build it as a Spirit of Durthu. So I think from a value point of view, this box might actually be pretty good. I know we're not looking at value, but I'm just trying to think of, again, it's arbitrary,
yep.
what will go in its favor versus the Oryx. And I don't think it beats the Oryx in terms of rule of cool.
Mm.
Um, I should say the Iron Jaws rule as opposed to just Oryx. But yeah, so I like it. I think you could. I do share your concern with how complicated some of the kits are in terms of getting them painted. Great for contrast, but to get something looking like what you've got on the box art, it's going to take a little bit more effort.
Yeah,
Um,
but it's a
I,
close. I will say
I
it's a close.
just don't think it beats the Iron Jaws.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the Ossiarch. Now we have to caveat this one. This one does say it's temporarily out of stock. So whatever we say here, it's probably going to be outdated because it looks like they're going to be releasing a new Spearhead if we're going by that correct assumption. But
Well, I think the assumption is if it's out of stock, then it's potentially going to be replaced. If it's just temporarily out of stock, then it might come back in.
oh yeah, I didn't even notice the difference. Yeah, okay, so ignore what I just said. Let's go. Yeah, I see that because the Daughter's Kin was temporary as well. Okay, so Ossiarch Bone Reapers, what do you think of the Ossiarch or OCR?
I'm not a fan of the Bone Reapers. I've not been a fan since the range came out, and I'm not a fan now.
Okay,
So
so
I'm just not a fan. I just don't like the aesthetic of them.
okay, so this is where we might, in fact, this is where we do disagree here because whenever I got back into AOS, I obviously had some old models. I had the Iron Jaws, I had some Stormcast. These guys were one of the ones that did, in fact, Jimmy my jangles. I thought that these guys are the kind of they almost scratch that itch which we talked about in the old world episode, which is they are that rank and file. They look fantastic, all just blocked together. So if that's your thing, these guys look fantastic. In terms of the actual box set itself, you've got obviously you get the standard troops. I think you get 20 of them from just a quick count there. You get 20 of them. You can build them with swords or with the spear, so whatever tickles your fancy. You get the 5 cavalry. You've got the I think he's called the Soul Mason, I believe.
You've got the Mortazan Soul Reaper and the Gothazar Harvester.
So the Gothazar Harvester, very cool looking model. I think it just looks awesome. It's this thing that just goes along the battlefield, picks up. It's got a little body in its like crotch,
Yeah.
and it literally
I'm looking at a picture of it now.
yeah, it's a little arm, and I think just aesthetically that is a very very cool model. It then just chucks the bones up, and you can actually see if you look at the detail on that one, you can see it's actually got a Stormcast head, and the hand is being like, nope, don't pick up that. Which again, just from a storytelling perspective, very very cool model. You can also build it in 2 different ways, which I have both. Again, would I pick this over the Iron Jaws? No, I don't think I would. Lots of little bits that are very, very easy to break. I mean, I've broken the banner on the Cavalos Rider. That broke. The little banner on top of the the bone collector. Again, that is very, very easy to break. There's a little bird at the back. Just a very, you're gonna have to be more conscious of these guys. Whereas the Iron Jaws, I don't think you really have to worry as much.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be a no for me. A very tough one, but yeah, it's gonna have to stay Iron Jaws top spot still.
Iron Jaws, Iron Jaws, Iron Jaws
Iron
move
Jaws.
forward. Fair enough. So,
Oh,
next up, we have one of my favorites,
wait a minute.
which are the Lumineth Realm Lords, because I do love a high elf.
Mhm.
Oh, torn on this one
Mm,
because I love the aesthetic of the Lumineth. I did a video on how to paint the Lumineth when they came out, and they are just great looking models, but they are massively overly detailed. Not overly detailed, that's probably unfair, but they've got a lot of detail on them,
I do.
as a lot of the models have from this kind of, I guess, what we'll call it era.
Mhm.
But that said, the aesthetic's fantastic. The archers is a fantastic aesthetic. The spearmen, absolutely love it. The swordsmen, absolutely love it. The only one I don't like in that kit is the Sonari Cathala, which
Yeah.
is it's the lady with the veil, who is I guess would be the leader. I'm not a massive fan of that model, but the rest of the models I absolutely love, adore, and would happily do an army of for Age of Sigmar. Um, but yeah, for me, I don't think they beat out the Iron Jaws, and just from the fact that they are just going to take so long to paint.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you've just said there. They are again kind of similar in the Ossiarch where they look fantastic. This is probably those 2 armies are probably 2 of the best of our maybe adding in Cities of Sigmar now, but they scratch the old world itch of rank and file, spear, archers in the back. You got the blade guys as well. But the one thing I will say is they all look quite similar. There's not one model there that I'm like, oh, I want that one. If they maybe swapped out the Cathalar for Spirit of Narian or something or Eltharion. Anyway,
Uh, Eltharion, yeah,
that is
that's a beautiful model.
that is the floating armor. Like, so I
Yeah.
think if they swap that out, pretty cool, and maybe would convince me. But the one thing I will say is that from a beginner perspective, these spears they've got, they are
Yeah.
much bigger than they look like in that photo. They are damn near 3 inches long. I think they're very very big, and they're
Yeah.
very difficult to move around, very easy to break.
Yes.
As with the arrow tips on the archers as well, I've noticed they would break quite easily. Um, yeah,
Didn't think of that. Didn't think of that.
that's the only thing I would say. And just when you look at that again, just from very quickly, it is quite hard to tell the Blade Lords between the Wardens, and yeah, they kind of just all blur into one. They're kind of like the Dark Oaths for me a little bit. But I do prefer these ones. But yeah, still gonna be Iron Jaws.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So next up then.
Oh,
Now this one for me. I mean, I'll let you go first because I've talked a lot, but Seraphon. So what do we think?
I think we might have a, I think we might have a new winner, to be honest. Right. First of all,
Dinosaurs riding dinosaurs.
dinosaurs riding dinosaurs. Dinosaurs with swords and shield, like clubs and
Yeah,
shields. Bigger dinosaurs that are, these are Croxigores. They are,
she goes,
I
yeah,
think, my favorite model of just AOS, like as a unit model, not single models by themselves, but I think these are probably the coolest unit that you can get in
yeah.
AOS. And they are
Love
just
the Crocs go.
peak Warhammer to me. Um, Carnosaur being a slightly older model, I actually don't think is too much of a concern for me because it still looks incredible. It does not sit out like the Skaven did in the other ones. It doesn't stand out to me as
Mhm.
looking old. Again, if you're looking at a lot of detail, maybe, but in my opinion, no. Also, another cool thing is you can build that two, three different ways. That
Three different
Carnosaur.
ways you can build that one, yeah.
Yeah. You can have that guy. You can then have a different, not the Carnosaur, I think it's a Troglodon, which is like more of a Spinosaurus looking one with a skink riding it. And if you build
Yeah,
that, you get the a guy who's riding the Carnosaur on foot. So you
yeah.
might be able to swap that out. If you're not playing Spearhead, official, if you just want to pick this box up. Painting wise, beautiful.
Easy.
Contrast paints were made for these models.
Yeah,
Very quick to build, paint, sorry, which again, as you said, when you look at a box, you don't want to look at it and go, oh crap, I have to paint all that. This is a very simple army to paint up, very quick army to paint up
yeah.
stuff well.
Well, I painted this exact spearhead in 5 days for a Warhammer community article.
Yeah.
It did almost break me, so I wouldn't recommend you try doing that. But the fact I was able to do it is more kind of down to the way the models lend themselves to contrast and a quick highlight. And it's dinosaurs, riding dinosaurs at the end of the day. You are right, the Crocs are a fantastic kit. You can build them different ways as well. So you can do the warp tainted Croxago, but you can also do normal Croxago, but they've got two different arm options. So you can build them differently to what they've got in the box. So you've got a little bit of variety in there as well. And I know this isn't actually part of the rules, but of this decision making process, but uh, the range is just an immense range.
Yeah.
The Seraphon range is awesome. I love it. There's loads of different dinosaurs that you can get. They're not actually dinosaurs in game, but they're dinosaurs.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, and the Lord Croak model is it's ridiculous in terms of like trying to paint it, but it is an amazing centerpiece model as well. So um, it's not a huge win for me for the Seraphon, but they do just nudge slightly ahead of those Iron Jaws.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like, 49 to 51 type of ratio is so close, but I just, I think the fact that you get a giant T-Rex, to me, that could sway a lot of people. Like when they look at the Iron Jaws, as I said, all fairly similar looking,
Yeah,
but that kind of goes well for them. But in this case, I think the uniqueness of having a giant T-Rex, just like the carriage on Overlord, the ship, like it's so cool. A lot nicer to hobby than that ship is. But
yeah,
that, yep, the standard troops look awesome, and then the Carnosaurs, sorry, the Croxigores, just that cherry on top of the cake for me. So
yeah.
Seraphon takes the number one spot by a.
Seraphon, I'm in the lead.
Mhm.
So next up we have the Night Haunt.
The Ghosty Boys. Now, what do you think? What's your first?
Nah,
Yeah.
I found few reasons. So these came out as but these are launch box with yeah, they were in the launch box, weren't they, with
Second edition.
second edition of the Sigmar.
Yeah.
So very fragile, very fiddly models, very easy to paint.
Very.
If you want to do a very quick job, again, using contrast paint.
Mhm.
But they're very fiddly models. Again, they're very similar. You're going to catch them. You're going to break weapons off and things like that. And I'm not a massive fan of the aesthetic. There may be something in the lore which kind of I don't know might swing me, but I'm not. Yeah, they don't really do it for me. I mean, there may well be folks watching this video now saying, "Oh my God, what are you saying?" This is so. If we've done any of your boys dirty, any of your girls dirty, by just let us know in the comments because we may have completely missed something. We are literally just looking at the ruler cool here, and when we see something we don't like, we just kind of move on. So if, like I said, feel free to comment down below, and as we've mentioned before, feel free to like and subscribe to the video as well as we charge towards that 500 subscriber goal that we have. So Ben, what do you think about the Night Haunt?
First of all, they have arguably the worst model to build ever. Three Spirit Hosts. I have never in my life considered just binning models because I just could not build them. The instructions for those that I had anyway a couple of years ago, because I got this I got these a while ago. I've had this model. I actually sold it. It's one of the very few armies that I actually sold. You're 100% right though. Very, very easy from a painting perspective. I mean, they are. If someone said, "What is the easiest model like collection to paint up?" These probably be up there. Contrast paint works beautifully on them. You need a little bit of metal, a little bit of contrast paint.
Hey.
That's realistically it. That's all you need. You need the metallic for the weapon if they've got it, and then the contrast that you're going to use.
Yeah, I'm looking at the sprue for those spirit hosts now, and I can already see.
I mean, that works quite well. Night Haunt, Nightmare, they are gross models to build.
Yeah, they are playing the role. Anyway, let's leave the Night Haunt where they are. Let's not disturb them any longer. Let's move on to Fire Slayers. Now, you like a dwarf, Ben?
I do, and I actually have this, not this box, but I did get their old, I can't remember what it's called. It wasn't Spearhead, is that before they rebranded it? I don't mind the Fire Slayers, but this one is just boring looking. I think they all look exactly the same. And that's the problem when you're a bunch of naked ginger dwarves. You're the difference between Naked Dwarf number 1 and Naked Dwarf number 20. One's slightly different, but not enough for someone to be like, it's just very hard to tell what is what here. Especially the base sizes, all from what I can tell, being fairly similar.
I think they are all the same, aren't they, in the base sizes?
Yeah, because that's a very easy way of telling. But yeah, so it's going to be a no for me. Very easy to paint, though. I would say that they would be a very similar in terms of how you paint them up. But I mean, you don't even get the Magma Droth.
No.
Magma Droth, you got a Magma Droth in the last one.
Yeah.
It's a shame you don't get.
Ironically, you'd use a lot of Magma Droth Flame Contrast paint to paint them.
Yeah, you would. And no Magma Droth in sight. With Magma Droth, if you're unsure what that is, first of all, give it a Googs because it looks amazing. But it's a giant salamander-looking wyvern on all fours. Looks awesome. I have two of them. Beautiful models, but yeah, just without that, the Fire Slayer is just a bit flat for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's nothing in that box which makes me want to get it at all. They just don't do it with me. They're all very similar, and there's lots of them, and yeah, I can't really say any more than that. They do not hold a torch to the Seraphon, I'm afraid.
No, they do not. They do not. All right. Next to Slaves of Darkness.
Yeah.
What do you think? It's a challenging one for me.
Okay. Well, you go first then, since you're challenged.
Okay. I think aesthetically, cool. Very, very, very cool looking box. You've got the cavalry, which look beefy. Unlike the Ossiarch kind of it's their skin and bones, quite literally. These guys look menacing. They look like if they hit into you, you're gonna be turned into paste. Like that. They just look heavy.
Yeah.
The chariot looking thing in the background. Quite hard to read what the chariot model is though. I can't I can't tell what's actually dragging the cart. Again, I'm looking at the full army image, like the image you would see.
It's horses. So it is drawn by horses. It can also be built as a go beast chariot.
Okay. Oh yeah.
It is being pulled by horses.
I can't my eyes can't read that clearly from that photo. The horses just look very stubby.
Yeah. I think it's an older model, whereas the cavalry and the infantry are new models.
That's why.
Which might explain.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're just looking at this artwork, the cavalry horses compared to that, they don't. It looks like they. It looks like it's being dragged along by like Shetland ponies, which I did not. Yeah, quickly get our steeds. Which ones? The little ones.
Little
The
ones.
little ones. The cute little chaos Shetland ponies.
Yeah.
Okay, so from that, again, I think the aesthetic of this is cool, but again, I have to go back to the chaotic nature of painting these things. Just looks intimidating. You know, to me, having been in this hobby for 20 plus years, that to me, I'll be like, if someone likes it, awesome. In fact, I had a friend who picked this one up, but
Mhm.
to me, it's no. Like the Seraphon just still reigns supreme
Are you
here.
still friends?
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. As friendly as you can be with someone who
Yeah.
collects
But
chaos.
yeah, I think for the yeah, I like the newer models in the kit. So I like the infantry and I like the cavalry. But again, it suffers from the same thing, I think, which is that it's just they're very busy models. It's very complex in terms of painting them, getting on the table. I think I don't know. I having had some of the slaves, or I've got some of the slaves to darkness here that I've done videos for. I just yeah, I feel they just take a little bit of a while to get into and get done, so they do suffer a little bit from that same sort of stuff as the Dark Oath. In that, yeah, I don't, and ultimately, do I think they look cooler than the Lizardmen? No,
Yep.
Seraphon. Sorry, I should say. Do they look cooler than the Seraphon? Not for me.
No. All right. Moving on to the next one. What have you got next?
Fleshy to courts.
Shoot reports.
Mm,
Very cool looking. They are very cool looking.
so I don't think they're cool looking.
No?
No, I don't like the flesh eater course aesthetic. Um I like the leader, which is it's the abhorrent art region. I think that's a really cool looking kit.
Yes.
But the rest of them I'm not master. They're all new, apart from the art region, which is a couple of years old, but not hugely old. They're all very new kits. But for me, I'm not a massive fan of the aesthetic of the flesh eater course. Perhaps it's because there's a lot of body horror stuff going on, but there's a lot of kind of humorous things as well. Like in terms of how they like, if you look at the musician, he's actually using someone's like severed arm as a drumstick, that kind of stuff. So
Fair.
there is some humor in them, but for me, I'm not a huge fan of the aesthetic. I think they're a little bit too overly pronounced for what I'd like to see.
But so, as you were saying that, you know what? Like the models that my eyes are drawn to are obviously the cavalry guys, but they're fine.
Bad calves.
Yeah, they're back halves. They're pretty cool. Again, I think from the rule of cool, I think those would be the models in the kit that you'd be like, oh, cool. I can't wait to see
Yeah.
these ones. Also, that Vargeist model. I think that Vargeist model is very, very cool looking. I think it's one of those models that people will be quite happy to build up. The leader,
Mm.
again, as you said, very cool. I think that pose is amazing. He looks big enough to be quite separate to the other models. The actual troops themselves, though, I think I agree. They're just fine. They're just fine.
Yeah.
I do
I mean,
like,
you're gonna contrast paint all day with these.
yeah, that from a hobby perspective, painting perspective, yeah, pretty solid army. But yeah, I can appreciate the cool look to them. It's just not my exact
Yeah.
like cool. I have some of them. You know, I did the Flesh Eater Courts box set.
Yeah. Yeah, I did tutorials on, I think, most of the models
But
for them. And obviously Usharan as well. I mean, Usharan is one of my favorite models. I think it's one of the best looking models that they've done, but the actual fleshy courts kind of rank and file, they're not cooler than the Seraphon,
no,
in my mind.
they're not even cool in the Iron Jaws, even the
Yeah.
second position. So yeah, I think Seraphon's still up there.
Okay.
Okay.
Next up, Maggotkin of Nurgle.
Oh, yeah.
You like Nurgle? Do you like Nurgle?
I do. I think this is the only Chaos Army that I actually genuinely really like in AOS anyway. 40k a little bit, but yeah, these things. First of all, I these are one of the armies that I painted up, and I felt like I leveled up painting these guys, so that I've got a little bit of a kind of like soft spot for them. A soft,
Mm.
squishy, pox-filled
That's Phil, yeah.
oil. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so Yeah, Blight Kings. I think the Blight Kings are some of the coolest looking models. One of the most greatest variety in models as well. You build those. I think I have 15 of them, and none of them look the same. You've got then the Spoilbox Scrivener, which is just awesome. Look, he's got that weird maw trunk
Looks a
mouth
bit like
thing.
Slimer from Ghostbusters, isn't it?
Yeah, so very, very cool. Again, that's one of the models. That was the actual model I painted up that I was like, oh, wow, this is actually maybe one of the best models I painted up. The Playbearers, older models, but I still think hold up to a certain degree. They're fine. And then you get the Blight drones. Now, I would say these are not the best army for a beginner. They are very delicate, those ones there. Anytime anyone touches my ones, I am like, because if they come in a bit heavy-handed, those
Yeah.
those things are breaking immediately. Very hard to transport. Do look cool, but yeah, not enough for me to supplant the Seraphon. What about you?
No, I agree with everything you say. I think they are slightly older models, aren't they? So, yeah, I'm not I'm not a massive fan of the Nurgle aesthetic.
Mm.
Um, I think there are certain, if I think of it from a 40k point of view, there are certain like Death Guard Marines which I think are really cool, certain ones which I think are not at all. And probably similar to this, which is just probably a little bit more like all I can hear is flies buzzing as I'm looking at it. I can hear the photo. So,
Yeah.
I yeah, for me, I'm not a huge fan, and I wouldn't say that they are cooler than the Seraphon.
Nope. Nope. Okay. Diving in underground and seeing what is hiding in the holes, and that is the Gloomspite Gets box set.
Mm.
All right. What's your first thoughts?
My first thoughts are just no, due to the sheer volume of models in there. I think, apart from those trolls, are they all like those night goblins? Are they like really old
They are.
sculpts as well? Yeah,
They are very
I
old.
don't know. I've never really resonated with Gloomspite kits.
Mhm.
They've just never really done it for me. Now the latest releases with like the Snarlfang Cavalry and stuff like that, they're great. I really like those, and the chariots and everything. They're fantastic. I just I don't know. These ones don't do it for me. Even the kind of the trolls, they're not. I'm calling them trolls. Yeah, they're troggoths.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't excite me in any way at all.
No.
All I see is a lot of work.
Yeah. So Jonathan actually painted up this kit. The Night Goblins are very old,
Yeah.
but they are fairly quick to paint.
Are they like One Piece as well?
I believe they're nearly one piece, if not two, and some of them I think maybe you glue the shield on some of them. But yeah, a lot of them are just like very, very simple to build. So it does have that going for it. That the models that are quite numerous, there's 20 of them,
Mm.
they're very easy to build, but they are tiny. Like they are minuscule. You can see the size of the bases. If you turn the
Yeah.
base sideways, they're barely even the height of the base. So it's a bit,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a bit like, oh, a bit underwhelming. The Troggoths, I think the Troggoths are cool. I think they are very, very cool looking models. Some of them, again, my favorite ones from Old World. And when I saw these getting upgraded, I was like, yeah, these are cool. Um, you get a decent amount of variety here, I will say that. But yeah, again, it's just not enough for me to tip over the Seraphon, and that's number one spot. The Squigs are very, very cool looking. But yeah, just from a real cool, nope, it's not good enough for me, unfortunately. But yeah, I think the new kits are they're very, very cool. The Snarpack Fang. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so still number one.
Still number one with the Seraphon. So we'll move on to the next one. So we've got three left.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're making decent time on this as well. So
We are.
first up, we've got the Disciples of Zinch.
Uh-huh.
What do you think of that, Ben?
Immediate no. Just immediate
No.
no. None of these look like things I want to paint or collect or play with. They look nightmarish in terms of detail. The flying looking, what are they? Screamers?
Emails, yeah.
They look old, really old. In fact, I think they are very, very old.
Yeah, I think the Flamers and the Screamers, so the demons within it, they are very old. I think the Sangors are new-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And but again, and the Kyric acolytes are as well. But yeah, having painted a lot of these, I'm for a Spearhead new. I wouldn't. There's nothing in there again that excites me the way like you just said, and there's nothing in there that is cooler than. There's not a single model in there that's cooler than any of the Seraphim models, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think we can move fairly swiftly on from this one because we'll just be,
To the Sons of Behemat.
yeah, three big giants.
Three big giants, which is temporarily out of stock as well. Now, this giant kit is the old giant kit. So this kit has been around for a very long time.
Yep, I still
Very long time.
these in the store when I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to be corrected on that, but I feel like it's a very yeah. I'm just looking at the sprues now, and you can tell by the gaps in the sprues that it's a very old sculpt because just the way they were produced back then. So, um, I quite like the newer kits that they've done for Sons of Behemat. Remind me what they are.
Oh, like the Kraken Eater, the War Stomper,
Yes.
all the big boys. Like so, these are the little boys of the giants.
Yes,
So these are the
they
little
are, yeah.
giants. Still giant. They're still, I mean,
Yeah.
twice, three times the height of some models.
The Mega Gargants, that's the one.
Mega Gargants, yeah. For me, I think this is actually a pretty cool box.
Yep.
In terms from a hobby perspective, lots of variety, lots of creativity, not too hard to paint up. They're big models as well, which means just in terms of ease to paint, visually, probably leans in your favor. But then there's also that concern if there's only three of them, they can be quite intimidating. So it can kind of go both ways with that. Um, I I really do like them, but do I like them more than Seraphon? Let me think about it. What about you?
I do not like the Mother Seraphon. Uh, quite simply. I think um I think because there's so much flesh on them and they're so big that you can't like do a base, a wash, a layer because it look really blotchy on them. Contrast isn't really going to help you. So I think you to get a good result painting wise, you need to have a certain level of skill on these because they're bigger models, which means you can't get away with so many things. I don't like the aesthetic hugely. And I think the thing that does that is the fact that when you put them up against the Mega Gargants, which are just obviously they're a brand new sculpt, and they just got again so much more to them, I think.
Yeah.
So they're all right, but like I said, they are an ancient kit, and I wouldn't say there's any one of them that's cooler than anything that's in the Seraphon box. And I think the Carnosaur is cooler than the Giant. So
I would argue the Croxagore cooler than the Giants as well.
yes, yes, I would say so.
With that, yeah, I'm still giving it to the Seraphon. Cool, but not quite cool enough. And I don't think they're
So,
the Iron Jaws either.
yeah, you're probably right. Actually, they're not. I'd rather a box of Iron Jaws than a box of Giants.
Yeah, yeah.
If I was spending my money.
So that is all I have. But it sounds like you.
There is one more because it's not actually on the Spearhead page, but it has just been announced, and that is the Soulblight Gravelords.
Oh,
So,
yes. I know what that is off the top of my head. Oh, okay. Numbers wise, intimidating. There's a lot of them. Coolness factor. What? Correct me if I'm wrong here, but you get Barrow Guard, you get
You do not.
Barrow Guard.
No Barrowguard.
Oh, skeletons.
You get a Vampire Lord, so it's the original Vampire Lord with the one with the red hair and the bats.
Underwater guy.
You get three Vargeists, which are I didn't realize they were Soulblight. I thought they were fleshy to coats.
I think they can go across all of them.
Yeah.
I know a box stock, but not. Yeah.
Yeah, you get 5 Blood Knights and 20 Death Rattle Skeletons. Now, for me, the Blood Knights and Death Rattle Skeletons are great kits.
Yeah.
I really like the kit, the aesthetic. I think I even said this when we were on the last episode when we were looking at the pre-orders because obviously they've just gone up for pre-order. But if I look at it purely from the painting point of view, I'm gonna have to. I don't think they're cooler than the Seraphon for me.
No, I agree. Blood Knights, awesome models.
Most models, yeah.
Largeists, cool but old. Don't
Yeah,
think they
I'm not. Yeah, they're all right. Death Rattle, love them. Think they're great.
Death Rattle. Uh,
Um,
the Lord, Vampire Lord, I
yeah, could
just
be for me.
from my head. Yeah, fine, just fine. I just yeah, we talked about this before. The hair just doesn't quite do it.
Yeah,
It looks a bit.
yeah.
Where is it? Magic hair? What?
I don't know. It just looks like it's been dragged away by bats, which doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah, looks more of a nuisance than anything. So
Yeah,
no, I mean, I still think Seraphon reigns supreme with a very, very close second Iron Jaws.
yeah. I would be happy with either box, but I'm also happy that that the Seraphon are winners. Now I've already painted a box of Seraphon, so maybe I'll paint a box of Iron Jaws next, and just to see how much fun it is. That could be interesting.
That's,
Um,
that's
because I know you're smashing some Iron Jaws out with more, are you? So there we are, folks. That is our very arbitrary decision on which is the coolest uh, spearhead box for Age of Sigmar. Now, interesting, there was one faction missing from that. So there was no Cities of Sigmar box. Now I did double check as we were going through, and I couldn't find one. So maybe we may have missed something, but I couldn't see one on the website.
yeah,
So
no, they're definitely there's the cannon. You get the cavalry. You get 10 of the shield and sort. What are they called? The steel helms.
yeah,
You get. Do you get the cavalry general guy? I wonder why it's not there. So we're. I mean, I literally pulled this from the Games Workshop website. So
yeah, I'm literally on the Games Workshop website now. They are not there.
that's interesting.
So yeah, so it's interesting. It may just be that they've done an update and it's not gone on there or something like that, but it's not on the Grand Alliance page with Cities of Sigmar, and it's not on the Spearhead page either. So that may have been in contention, but I'm happy it's the Seraphon, and we've come to it. So let us know down in the comments what your favorite Spearhead box is, and have we done anybody dirty in terms of our decision-making process today. Like we said right at the start, we have got that target of 500 subs, so if you've made it this far through the pod, thank you so much. Please consider subscribing, hit that like button. I think we're going to do this for 40k in the future as well, aren't we, Ben?
Yeah, let us know if that's what you would like.
Yeah, exactly. Let us know if that's what you want to see, and also let us know if you want kind of us to do a bit of a pod in terms of which is the best to start an army. So we've just looked at them against each other, but which one is the best to start an army? So would it be Seraphon because you've got all the dinosaurs? Would it be the Iron Jaws because you've got lots of different brutes? Would it be the Stormcast because they've got such a vast range? Let us know if you would like to see that kind of content in the future. But for now, guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
So yeah.